I want to be a TikTok influencer. Here's my plan. I want to show the world that you can be famous by being your entire authentic self. I'm going to be someone that no one has ever seen before. I'm going to do things that no one has ever done. And I'm going to show the world that I can be famous by being entirely me. This is my best friend. He's now TikTok famous and hangs out with a lot of other TikTok famous people, but I feel like he's not being his authentic self at all, and he's just turning into the people who are around him.
I don't see it that way.
Something that I don't think anybody has done is planking challenge TikToks. So I'm gonna try that to get Gym Talk interested.
Actually, we love planking. We do all kinds of planks. Wall planks, reverse planks, side planks.
That's fine, I didn't want to be on Gym Talk anyway. I'll try going on social justice TikTok by doing street interviews.
Actually, we love street interviews.
Yeah, we love engaging with the public.
Actually, I'm gonna create a device that allows you to contact anybody around the world. I bet they haven't heard of that before.
Actually, phones were invented a while ago.
Fine, I'm gonna create feminine products that no one has ever heard of.
What, like tampons?
Or like menstrual cups.
Fine. I'm gonna write a book that nobody has ever seen before, critiquing fascism, talking about the exploitation of children, and make it a love story.
Isn't that the Hunger Games?
Yeah, like with Katniss and Peeta.
I don't even know why I try.
So, why do you want to be a TikTok influencer?
I just feel like there's nobody who looks like me and you in the media. It's always straight white people, and I'm tired of seeing just them instead of people who look like me and the people who I love, and just not seeing that representation at all.
Yeah, I totally agree. It's really difficult living in a society and trying to conform to a society that doesn't see us for who we are. And that's why I think by existing on the outside of it, we are still being true to ourselves.
Yeah, I guess I see what you're saying. It's just that I feel like it's important to show my unique and authentic self, and I don't think that you are doing that. I feel like you're just conforming to everyone around you.
You know, I define myself for who I am to help other people get to know me. I think it's a beautiful thing to be a unique person, but it's also okay to be similar to other people. I have a lot of interests like reading and crafting, and I tell people these things about me so that we can get to know each other.
I guess I see what you're saying.
Hello, thank you so much for watching my first attempt as a STEM kid to write a movie. I think it didn't go very well. It was really awkward and I don't know how to write a script. So I wanted to talk through my process, my thought process behind my plot and dialogue writing. So, scene 1, our main character says something like, I want to be an influencer by being my complete authentic self, and basically introduce the world to something that no one has ever seen before. The first person I credit is Walter Benjamin when he talks about mechanical reproduction and how the reproduction of an object can be authentic based on the time and context of that reproduction. So our main character, rather than trying to do that, or essentially create an all-new, unique context for herself, she instead attempts to establish herself as different through the content that she makes. The next person I reference in this scene is Bell Hooks, who discusses the oppositional gaze, or how blackness is in opposition to whiteness. Now, Hooks refers specifically to race, but this can honestly be applied to any context of convention and anti-convention. So our main character is attempting to exist contrary to the popular convention, but does not understand that she is in fact defining herself by convention by trying to exist directly opposite to that. Finally, I reference Innes, who talks about the nature of communication and the systems they exist in. But Innes basically kind of says that if you are communicating through a given technological medium, you are contributing to the dominant hegemonies that put those mediums into place as commonly used mediums of technology. So essentially, our main character is trying to be authentic and different from the society around her, but she's still using this dominantly used social media platform in order to express the authenticity. So it's like, how authentic is she being if she is taking part in something that everyone else is taking part in? Our next scene is me as the main character's best friend, who is a TikTok famous celebrity. And I kind of, in her eyes, have sacrificed my uniqueness and my authenticity. So the first person that I reference in this scene is Catherine Hales when she talks about being human versus post-human. Basically, she describes how the human experience and the post-human experience are very different things. She talks about what the post-human experience is. It's very virtual. And I mean, it's just a really good summary and starting point to compare and contrast how different simulations or experiences of reality affect how an individual is impacted, and it affects their characteristics. So for instance, my character, as someone who is surrounded by people who are on this medium of TikTok, experiences a very different reality from the main characters. I then reference Raymond Williams, who talks about technological determinism, where technology has significant impacts on society and society structures and hegemonies. In the case of our main character and their best friend, is despite both of their different and conciliatory views on TikTok, they're both still very heavily impacted by TikTok. So TikTok, being the medium, has influenced our main character into believing that authenticity is really important. The last person I reference in this section is Lumen, when he talks about interpretations of art and the individual's perception. Lumen claims that interacting with the medium or content can impact your perception of the world due to the ideas that are ingrained within that medium and that content. So again, by interacting with symbols, mediums, and content within a society, you can be influenced by the hegemonic ideals of that society that are subliminally messaged and that are being indirectly messaged. So in terms of our main character and her best friend, our main character may be interacting with art and medium and content that is messaging that authenticity is important, while our best friend is not engaging with that same media and maybe is engaging with media that is promoting TikTok and the cultures associated with it instead. Our next scene explores our main character attempting to introduce new ideas and content to different sides of TikTok, so essentially trying to introduce different types of culture to different simulations and realities within the realm of TikTok. So obviously when talking about simulations and reality, the first person I reference is Baudrillard, which I'm still paranoid I'm saying that name incorrectly, but so Baudrillard talks about simulations and reality and how a modern day simulation can exist as reality for an individual that is living within that simulation. So instead of like the real objects, symbols for that reality exist as like the real object within whatever simulation that it's occupying. Baudrillard states, the age of simulation thus begins with a liquidation of all referentials. Worse, by their artificial resurrection in systems of signs, which are more ductile material than meaning, in that they lend themselves to all systems of equivalence, it is no longer a question of imitation, nor reduplication, nor even parody. It is rather a question of substituting signs of the real for the real itself. I wanted to draw attention to all of the different sides of TikTok and how existing within those frames of thought and those simulations essentially are as real as the simulation that our main character exists in. I then talk about Towns and Towns' reference to Black media philosophy and how Black media philosophy as a movement that has existed on the fringes of simulations or realities that do not account for Blackness often ignore the importance of Blackness in media philosophy. Similarly, with our main character, all of these ideas that she's introducing, while they're things that are commonly done before in all of these different sides of TikTok, because her reality and her simulation does not account for these mindsets, she assumes that these are new ideas. Again, referring to the idea of simulation and outside of the simulation, the next author I refer to is Mackenzie Wark's video game Plato's Cave. She's essentially asking what the outside of the video game Plato's Cave will go on to look like as video game culture develops and grows. And she's aware of this video game cave, but in contrast to that, our main character does not realize that she is inside of her own TikTok cave and doesn't realize that there are other TikTok caves and that there might be something outside of her own TikTok cave. In this next scene, we kind of find out our main character's secret reasons as to why she wants to be TikTok famous. I reference Noble and her algorithms of oppression, along with Haraway's Cyborg Manifesto, Sharma's feminist medium is the message, and Foucault's discipline and control, because all of these passages kind of talk about this same reoccurring instance of that idea of that simulation or an understanding of a type of media, whether it be medium or content, that does not include marginalized identities. So, of course, Noble talks about how algorithms are influenced by hegemonies such as the patriarchy and capitalism. Likewise, Haraway talks about how the identity of a woman binds together groups of people based on their experience and behaviors under the, again, hegemonies of capitalism and patriarchy. And both these things kind of refer to the fact that oppression is symptomatic of the hegemonies of the dominant society. So again, these characteristics are given to us by our simulation or our experiences. The things that make us individually unique are actually not unique as they are given to us by our simulations. It also refers to the fact that certain hegemonies are promoted. As our main character discusses, characteristics that define her are not seen in the media, and that's something that she struggles with. Foucault talks about how existing within an established system in the established role you're given and occupying that position, while it does make you incapable of existing as an authentic individual, it is something that your survivability kind of depends on. I mean, Sharma talks about how existing outside of the hegemonies that are promoted is dangerous for marginalized identities. Finally, scene 4, in which the idea of authenticity and identity within the TikTok realm is discussed by the best friend and the main character. So the first person I reference is Arius, who talks about how the provision of information and the provision of other people's responding behaviors inform how individuals and what they believe and how they behave. This essentially establishes that identity is an amalgamation of the information received by hegemonic ideas in society. Therefore, existing as an authentic identity would be difficult. Speaking of, we then refer to Duguay and his definition of identity. According to Duguay, identity is not used to isolate oneself from another, but rather to build community. Our identities are built off of what makes us similar to other people and not what makes us unique and different from others. Historically, these similarities, according to Duguay, have been used to attract marginalized identities, groups to one another in order to build community. Gauntlet talks about the same thing when he refers to how hobbies and interests are used as mechanisms of identity in order to build community across virtual ground. So rather than authenticity and identity being unique and different, and the whole point of authenticity and identity within TikTok and social media spheres is to help build connection rather than to set one another apart.